Hello everyone, a very warm welcome to the 45th episode of the Net Zero Energy Building Knowledge Series. This is the platform for the industry to share their expertise, projects, products, technologies, research and any ideas to fuel the discussion for the energy efficiency and grow engagements for NZEP in India. I am Anval, working as a green building analyst at Environmental Design Solution, and I shall be the session moderator for today. The webinar series is executed under the MATRI program, which is supported by USAID. MATRI is the acronym for Market Integration and Transformation for Energy Efficiency. MATRI supports three main programs, which are energy efficiency in buildings, sustainable cooling, and training and consumer engagements. The program works in partnership with several organizations such as Energy Efficiency Services Limited, Bureau of Energy Efficiency, and others to implement various initiatives. The market transformation approach includes creating business opportunities for the private sector, scale up of the potential initiatives, and also enabling policies as well as providing trainings for NZEBs. MATRI is supporting efforts moving towards a super efficient and net zero energy targets for buildings in India. The NZEB Knowledge Portal is a one-stop site for the information on the NZEB. You can also explore further on the website at www.nzeb.in. Today's webinar comes at a very appropriate time as the latest IPCC special report is out. It is clearly brings that out established fact that the humans are responsible for the warming up of the planet. About 80% of the CO2 emissions are from burning fossil fuels, which are used to empower the buildings. So thus it also states, if order we need to keep the global warming under 2 degrees, we need to decarbonize by 2050. We, as the building sector professionals, are responsible to come together with the organization, cities, states, and region to mitigate the worst impact of the climate change. Let us learn how can we make cities smart as we have the expertise in the area. It's always good to step in and zoom out and understand how we can make a difference in achieving the net zero emissions by 2050. Let us now learn more about it from Dr. Uma Maheshwaram Rajasekar, also addressed as Dr. Mahesh, who is the expert speaker for today's session. I welcome you to the webinar, Dr. Mahesh, who is the chair at Urban Resilience Unit and heading the Climate Center for Cities at the National Institute of Urban Affairs at India. He has over 18 years of experience in developing risk reduction strategies, climate change analysis, institutional strengthening for governments, INGOs, and multilateral agencies. He has been the team leader and project manager for some of the pioneering risk resilience efforts in India, including implementation of early warning systems, urban disease surveillance, and city resilience strategies. Welcome to the webinar, Dr. Mahesh. We look forward to learn about the key findings from the Climate Smart Cities Assessment Framework, which was covered under the 5 themes, which were urban planning, green cover and biodiversity, energy and green buildings, mobility and air quality, water management, and waste management. There will also be a question and answer round at the end of the presentation. If you have any questions during the presentation, please drop them into the question box. So now I request Mr. Mahesh
Thank you, Anmol, for the introduction and taking us through the NZ program. A very warm welcome to all of you, and thanks to USAID and Maytree and NZ partners for giving me an opportunity to take you all through um, the Climate Smart City Assessment Framework. So, as I hope my screen is visible. So, this is
Yes, yes.
an effort which was initiated by the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs somewhere in 2019, when we were all sitting together and thinking about how we can mainstream climate actions as a part of ongoing developmental activities. And one of the key things which is happening in India, even though the AR6 rightly put it, that much of the evidence are clear, now it's time for taking actions. But when we have such a report talking about 2 degrees change, it's also important for us to understand how we can unpackage that 2 degrees, how it is going to pan out across various cities, and what kind of city level interventions we can bring about. And therefore, in while the COVID, even though the plan was done in 2019 and we had the first round of assessment during that time, in 2020, it was the Climate Center for Cities was officially launched by Honorable Minister Mr. Hardeep Singh Puri of Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs to initiate the process of detailed assessment across all cities in India. One of the key reasons for doing this assessment is not to rank any cities, but it is to provide a pathway how cities can understand where they stand today and what are the next steps they can take to ensure that whatever interventions and development activities they are undertaking are informed by these assessment reports, but also more importantly, it can also help uh, multiple stakeholders come together to join the integrated action framework. So the Climate Smart City Assessment Framework has 3 broad goals. One, of course, to have a considerable impact and also benefit the Indian population. 2, it also acts as a measure for reporting to some of the global frameworks, which includes SDGs and also nationally determined contribution NDCs. And it also provides a pathway for development. Usually, many of the assessments and lead to some kind of a ranking. So cities usually are confused that if we are in rank number 10 and if we want to go to 2, what we should do. Of course, they can improve across the indicators, but sometimes improving across the indicators is not as straightforward as we all know. So the main vision of the Climate Center for Cities, which is instituted within the National Institute of Urban Affairs and supported by the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, is to build climate action in cities. And what that means is to understand the climate variability and climate change, and that is incorporated within all development activities of the city. Two, also to mainstream climate actions through improved coordination, collaboration, data collection, and also data reporting, leading to improved planning and also monitoring of whatever is taking place within the city. And this is an integrated framework. As you can all see, it has 5 key thematic areas, even though if you break it down into parts, it goes beyond 5. It is close to 9. But the key areas are how we can look in terms of the urban planning, how we can look in terms of the energy and green building. Probably I'll spend a little bit more time on the results of energy and green building, which may be of use to the audience of this particular session, and how we can improve our mobility and air quality across the city, and water management and waste management. Even though energy and green buildings are one key components, there are also energy components which are distributed across other indicators. Say, for example, what is the water management, water use efficiency, water reuse efficiency, and water systems which are being managed by the municipal corporation, and what kind of efficiency they are able to achieve and improve over time. These 5 thematic areas are further divided into 28 indicators, and these 28 indicators are further divided into 96 data points. So what we are trying to measure across cities are not just data points and the indicators, but what are the progressive levels. There are certain things which need to happen in order for climate action to build on. For example, you're all, most of your architects and engineers and building professionals. So, you know, until unless we don't lay foundation, we can't really talk about, building 10 stories or 15 stories. So sometimes in building climate actions, you need strong foundation. You need strong institutional setup. You need strong commitment from multiple stakeholders. You need to have a strategy and plan. And further building on it, then you require finance, and then you require implementation options. So most of our cities are divided, or most of their performance across these indicators are divided across 5 categories. They are from 1 star to 5 star level. 1 star cities are cities which have yet to think about climate actions. 2 star cities, they have commitment across leadership. They have interest shown by various stakeholders. They have started collecting some data, but they are at a very early stage of development. 3 star cities are cities which have certain plans and strategies across various indicators. They know what they want to do, and they are either seeking funds or they are in the process of accessing, incorporating funds within their municipal finance to implement certain projects. 4 star cities are cities which have allocated budgets or accessed funds at the state government level or access funds at the central government level, and they have started implementing climate actions. And 5 star cities are cities which are able to showcase impacts of their implemented actions. As you can see, from our benchmarking assessment, which took place in 2019, cities that progressed further. So the majority of the progress you see from moving from 1 star to 2 star. That is, earlier cities were not consciously taking up actions or consciously bringing multiple stakeholders together, which has transformed due to this particular framework and assessment. What we have observed is still majority of our Indian cities. If you look at the overall assessment, this year we took it up, in 2020, we took it up across 126 cities, and that included 100 smart cities and 26 cities which have 500,000 plus population or which were state capitals. What we realized is only 9 cities are in the 4 star level. That is, in spite of multiple projects which are taking place in cities, they are not done with proper plan, strategy, and action, or they are not done in an integrated manner. They are done in a piecemeal manner, or they are done in a manner where you know uh, it's being implemented by a multilateral agency or a bilateral agency or a donor agency, and there is little possibility of sustenance. But all said and done, there are few progressive cities. We have um, we have total of 9 cities in the 4 star category, which include Surat, Indore, Ahmedabad, Pune, Vijayawada, Rajkot, Visakhapatnam, Pimpri Chinchwad, and Baroda. What we plan to achieve in the next couple of years is we want to expand this particular assessment from the current set of 126 cities to scale it up to 500 cities, and also see in terms of how we can support these existing cities in building their climate action. With respect to urban planning, green cover, and biodiversity, what we managed to observe is majority of the cities are still in 1 star and 2 star category. There are what we were looking at is how much amount of their water bodies and open areas are being conserved, how much amount of green areas, proportion of green areas. There are certain URDPFI norms, and how many cities are adhering to those norms. Urban biodiversity is an act which was introduced in 2002. How many cities are adhering to the Urban Biodiversity Act? And disaster resilience is something which many of our cities are facing in order to safeguard their current infrastructure and future investment. How many cities are already planning around disaster risk reduction? And how many cities are in the process of implementing climate action planning? So what we have realized is there have been a considerable amount of progress which is taking place in cities. Say, for example, 38 cities have plans for have plans currently underway, and also have allocated budget for rejuvenating their water bodies and open areas. But it's also, when you look at the other side, 2/3 of the cities are still not conserving their water bodies and urban spaces. But 65 cities, close to 50% of our cities manage to achieve the DPFI norms of minimum of 12% green cover within their municipal boundary. But it's also saddening to note that 50%, that is close to 61 cities, are still not having sufficient green cover within their municipal boundaries. And what we are worried is, as the cities grow, which they are going to do so in the next 20 years, if the existing green cover or is not being maintained, then we will end up generating more heat and more consumption of electricity to cool those spaces. So it's very important cities start looking into it. At the same time, 62 cities have also instituted biodiversity management committee, which is, as per law, it's a mandate. But some of the cities are in the process of doing it, and it's good to know cities have also started making disaster management plan and also uh, assessing their vulnerability and also their GHG inventory. And in terms of what they are planning to do, cities like Shimla are in the process of developing multi-hazard risk assessment. Shimla is not the only city, but just in terms of giving you a flavor of what cities are doing, cities are starting to measure their greenhouse gas emissions. They are also starting to make, local biodiversity conservation strategies and action plan. And people have started making, contributing to the biodiversity register. Uh, Cities have started recharging of the groundwater table, and some of the cities have started maintaining, rejuvenating their water bodies. I think some of the activities are undertaken as a part of the smart city mission, but some of the activities are also undertaken by cities' own intent and their previous issues and challenge. Probably energy and green building is one area which all the audience who are present within this today's session may be interested in. And what we tried to capture was total electricity consumption in the city, and how much amount of electrical energy is derived from renewable sources. And this is once again at a city level. And how much amount of fossil fuel consumption is taking place within the city. What kind of energy efficiency is practiced within the street lighting, and how cities are promoting green building, and how many cities are adopting green building. So when you look at the indicators, you can see a drastic movement. I think energy and green building is one particular area where cities have showcased a considerable amount of performance. I wouldn't attribute this particular performance to cities doing many actions in the last 2 years, but much of this shift is because cities did not have data to report. And in the last 2 years, they know that this data is going to be useful to them, and they have started collecting that particular data to inform their strategies and planning. And also in the last 2 to 3 years, one might have seen that there is a substantial adoption of renewable energy across cities, and there is also the energy efficiency shift in the street lighting mechanism. So what it means for each of the indicators, cities are performing really well when it comes to certain indicators. Say, for example, with respect to street lighting. Sorry. Yeah. So when you look in terms of the average electricity consumption, the two-star cities on an average consume 1,710 kilowatt hour per capita per annum, whereas our five-star cities are consuming 5 times lesser energy. Uh, what does that mean? Because the five-star cities, because of the city-led actions, city-led interventions, and also their efficiency in energy management and services, have managed to bring down the cost considerably, or bring down the consumption considerably. The same is also observed in terms of the average fuel consumption. When you look at the three-star cities, they are consuming on an average 124 liters per capita per annum, whereas the five-star cities the consumption is close to 22 liters per capita per annum. What does that mean? Once again, cities which are using public transportation or promoting public transportation manage to consume less fuel. Cities which are managed to have energy efficiency within their local grid are consuming less fuel, because if you look at Delhi and NCR, many of the buildings in Gurgaon and Noida, you always see a huge diesel generator as you enter the gate of the building. And that leads to an increased consumption of petrol and diesel, whereas cities which have better planning, better management, and robust grid system to provide uh, energy at a constant rate throughout the year, they also end up consuming less fossil fuel. And what we have also observed is there are quite a good number of cities undertaking renewable energy initiatives. But when we look at the total number of cities where the energy generated contributes to more than 15%. There are only 10 cities in India where the total energy generation is coming very close to or more than 15% of the total energy usage. But the interesting thing, like I said, in the last 2 years, 88 cities have converted all their street lighting to energy efficient. This is 100% conversion to energy efficient or renewably energy operated street lighting system. And this is also because of the public-private partnership and also the model, which are much more easier for cities to adopt, where a private vendor can come and what they are doing is they are basically hedging against the electricity bill for the next 5 years. And with that constant rate, they are able to change the fixtures of cities at no additional cost or with no initial investment from the city. So that is leading to quite a bit of a transformation. It's also important to note that almost all the states and union territories have established green building cells. But unfortunately, we can't say the same at a city level. Some of the bigger cities like Delhi or capital cities have these green building cells present within their jurisdiction. And that is also because they are capital city, the state cell is present within them. But that said, this is one area where we think there is a need for a larger push. That if a city administration needs help or any builders within a particular city needs help, or they need guidance for not only using ECBC code, but also for mainstreaming some of the ENS codes, Econivas Samita, I think the presence of these green building cells are going to be very key. We have 101 cities which have some form of green buildings implemented. Of course, there are some progressive cities. There are 20 odd cities which have substantial amount of green buildings which have come up in the last 2 years. But majority of the cities have few buildings coming up. And it's also not necessary that all buildings are awarded the green building rating, but it gives you a highlight. If 100 buildings are constructed and even if 5 to 10% of it is in a green or follows green building standards, I think it gives an opportunity for others to follow. And it also provides incentives and inspiration for buyers, home buyers and office uh, buyers to understand the importance of it and move towards energy efficient buildings. There are several good initiatives which are happening. For example, Belgavi is one city where 100% of all their municipal corporation buildings have solar installed on their rooftop. And Rajkot is also a city which is saving a huge amount of money. They are saving close to, 50 lakh rupees because of their energy initiatives which they have taken up. And apart from not only saving money, they are also reduced their emissions considerably in the last few years. Cities like Diu have instituted solar park where 100% of their energy requirement is coming from renewable energy. And Telangana Energy Conservation and Building Code is also promoting ECBC at their city level. And Warangal is one of the city where they have instituted the green building cell and are also promoting it well. And of course, there are cities like Rourkela, which is slowly transforming into you know CNG vehicles and CNG pumps and things like that. But it's important for these new and small upcoming cities where a lot of their existing infrastructure are yet to be built. When we look at the overall numbers, if you remove the top 60, 70 cities in India, compared to the 4,000 plus urban local bodies which are existing, I think there is a huge opportunity for these upcoming emerging cities to come up with a better plan for energy efficient infrastructure, energy efficient buildings, and also promoting, renewable energy within their municipal corporation boundary or the ULB boundary. With respect to mobility and air quality, we have been monitoring some of the indicators which leads to the availability of public transport, percentage of NMT, and the level of air pollution. So the performance once again is not too great. There is a small increment in the 1-star level. That's because the first assessment was undertaken, the benchmarking was undertaken across 96 cities. And the second assessment was undertaken across 126 cities. So in terms of the percentage, yes, there has been a small improvement in the percentage, but in terms of the total numbers, of course, there is a lot which needs to happen in the sector of mobility and air quality. We can see that only 19 cities have air quality standards which are currently forming, and only 14 cities have 35% of their road coverage catering to NMT. When we say NMT, it's non-motorized transport. It includes pedestrian footpath and also cycle tracks. And only 21 cities are aligning or have reached the ministry's service level benchmarking for public transportation. So there are a lot of cities which still are not having proper public transportation, but these are the areas where considerable amount of improvement can be made over the next few years through better planning, to better stakeholder engagement and partnership. We have cities like Chennai, which has converted some of the busiest streets. They have removed traffic, or they have reduced the lane from 4 lanes to 2 lanes, and given more space for pedestrians to walk around and also for other business activities to take place. Pune is one of the cities where they have started promoting clean air action plan, and cities such as Amritsar are going towards public transportation. And I think Agra and Visakhapatnam are some of the progressive cities in India, where Agra is looking in terms of the battery operated vehicles, and Visakhapatnam is also moving towards clean air action plan. When it comes to water, it's important to know that many of our cities have quite a long way to go. When we did the first assessment, none of the cities fared in reaching 3 stars, but we are happy to say that many of the cities have started, at least creating their water resource management plan. And in some form, the recent events of drought, in water scarcity, and also flood has, helped cities immediate action. But we don't want other cities to face similar kind of consequences to change their mindset. What we have also realized is energy efficiency within water supply system and energy efficiency within wastewater system is very critical, and few cities are initiating that particular process. What we have realized is only 41 cities are conducting energy audit, especially for the water supply system. When they don't do the audit, they are not able to improve their performance. Many of the cities are still using older pumps, older infrastructure, leading to higher non-revenue water. And it's also important to note only 16 cities are doing regular audit for wastewater supply system or wastewater systems in general. So these are the areas where quite a bit of improvement is possible. But that said, we have quite a bit of hope, because 60 cities have implemented mechanism for promoting wastewater recycle and reuse, and there are also quite a good number of cities, like 67 cities, which are moving towards water resource assessment. And one of the key areas, which is once again of concern, me coming from a disaster management background, is the number of cities which are having flood risk assessment done. I think that is an area which is very critical, because whatever we are investing in the current infrastructure, we want that infrastructure to last for another 25 to 50 years. For that to happen, I think we can't stop floods from happening, but creating flood resilience plans, and also at least monitoring and managing the areas which are getting flooded is going to be very, very critical as cities grow and as new migrants come in. And usually these are areas where the local residents or the citizens usually avoid, and these are the areas where migrants come and settle in or tend to buy up land or property or building for a much cheaper rate, and they end up spending a lot of money or losing a lot of money post flood or during flood events. Some of the cities which are doing some progressive work, including water supply and sewerage projects, then there is a lot of investment grade energy audit which has been taking place, and I think Ahmedabad and cities like Indore are leading this particular initiative. There are also a lot of cities implementing decentralized wastewater treatment and reuse, and also the issue of NRW is getting addressed. Because of the water scarcity, cities are forced to make the maximum use of their available water resources. In some cities, the NRW is close to 40%, and even with a better management, they can, by bringing it down by 50%, they can actually cater to a larger segment of the population. And also upgrading their water supply system is also really important to cater to provide 24/7. And cities such as Cuttack are also in the process of implementing disaster management flood risk assessment plan. Of course, the waste management has got substantial amount of push in the last 4 years because of the Swachh movement, and also because of the larger participation of private sector, public at large, taking care of the waste management initiative. So this is one sector where we see it as a probably a lighthouse for other four thematic areas. If you if you see that pretty much 53 cities are in 1 star, but the same equal number of cities are either in 4 or 5 star category. So what that means is there is been substantial amount of good and bad cities. It just uh, means that if a city wants to change their behavior, they can, and they can implement actions with low investments. There are a lot of cities which are right now scientifically managing their land sites or converting or doing remediation to their existing landfill in a scientific manner. Construction and demolition waste, since you are all coming from the building energy sector, building performance sector, I think this is an area where we see a huge, laguna. It's only 17 cities which have construction and demolition waste management routes. And I think when you're talking about green buildings, when you're talking about energy efficient buildings, it's also important to think about the kind of material which gets into the construction of building and the kind of energy which goes into the process. So probably reuse and reutilization of construction waste is going to be very critical. With old infrastructure coming down and new infrastructure coming up, I think a lot of construction waste can be reused in a more effective, efficient manner, and that is something which cities need to address. Otherwise, much of these waste gets dumped into water bodies which are either dry during the summertime, or they are dumped into uh, you know valleys and certain areas which are in the outskirts of the city, affecting the people around it. But as the city grows, these area once again becomes an issue for rehabilitating them. So some of the key initiatives which are taking place, at least in Delhi, there is a construction and demolition recycling facility available. These can be done in a PPP manner. Many of the cities don't need to have their own facility. They can actually have it for a twin city or a 3 city corridor, where construction waste generated from couple of cities in the vicinity can be brought together at one single location. And many of these can also be done in a PPP manner where the government provides the operating organization, the space, and it can be done in a manner which benefits both the municipal corporation or urban local bodies and also the private sector and the construction agency. So with that, while I'll probably take another 2 to 3 minutes to take you through what we are planning. Of course, there has been a good assessment done over the last 2 years. It's going to happen for the next 5 years. We are going to expand from 126 cities to close to 500 cities over the next 5 years. But what goes behind the scene, how much amount of effort it takes to change the mindset. The first and foremost thing is there needs to be a lot of capacity building. Why we need capacity building, apart from the conventional mechanism of people talking about ice caps melting and polar bears and global change and global disaster, people need to internalize what climate change means to their particular city, what climate change means to their community, what climate change means to their work, what they do on a day in day out basis. And that is what we are trying to build in. We are demystifying the climate change. Climate change is not something which is happening only in the Himalayan region or the glaciers melting, but it is something which is happening to you in your community, and how individuals, organizations, and various partners can come together to address this. Second, we are also creating a framework. How do people come together? Many times when I talk to colleagues from different institutions, they always say, Mahesh, tell me what we can do. We are willing to do. We are interested in it. We understand the severity of it. But the right platform is not provided for bringing that alliance. So this is the first initiative. This is where we are trying to bring all partners to a platform where they can connect to the cities and cities can connect to them. And it is done with the support from Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. It is not only bringing people together, but it is also bringing the knowledge together. So the tools used, the reports made, any kind of assessment done, we want to provide a one-stop shop for all knowledge related to urban climate change. And also we want to create a place where scaling up of actions can happen. It should be an exhibit or an exhibition kind of a mechanism where, things which are working well for other cities are showcased, and cities which want to implement something new can always pick and choose from this varied list of options based on their priority, based on their investments, and based on their available resources, both technical and human resources. And this cannot be done alone by the ministry or NIUA or CQ for that matter. So what we have with us on board is we have currently 141 cities which have registered for this particular assessment. We have research organizations. We have multilaterals and bilaterals investing into our program. We have academic institutes showing their willingness to develop training and capacity building program and also delivering them. We have NGOs who are willing to support the cities on the ground. We have philanthropies and foundations who are willing to provide grants to the cities, if not for the implementation of the projects, but at least for the assessment. And of course, we have data labs and we have IT providers and we have startups and incubators who are all willing to help cities leapfrog in terms of the technology. And of course, it cannot be done without the industry partner and the civil society organization. So currently, we have close to 50 plus partners and institutions. We have some who have signed an expression of interest, some who have signed us proper contracts, some who have signed the letter of intent to engage with cities. And there are over 60 committee members. Whatever I'm talking about in terms of the indicators, in terms of the framework, even though we provide guidance and we provide the overarching plan of how it will be rolled out and how it will be designed, I think more than 60 different experts have come and looked at each of the indicators, not all 60, but pretty much 5 per indicator, or at least we have some 10 per thematic area. So people coming together and providing inputs based on their experience of working with the cities. And we also had more close to 20 cities providing inputs to the indicator. This was the first time that cities were brought on board and said that we are going to do an assessment for all the cities. Why don't you tell us what you want to know to help you in implementing climate action? So cities also came up and said, yeah, this is important, we understand, but we can't collect it. So we have kept that as a future indicator to assess. This is something we can collect, but we need help. That's where we have linked them up with the national agencies, and especially for the green buildings, we have pretty much all the rating agencies reporting on behalf of the cities, which is a very good thing. And of course, we also have some action projects which are happening within the city as I speak. So of course, these are some of the work which we are doing with various partners on various aspects. Of course, with respect to policy planning and projects, we have a few things which are underway, which are getting implemented at NIUA, but it's more in terms of piloting process where it can be scaled up. And we have also done quite a bit of capacity building activities. More than 1,000 city officials were trained, and we had a huge number of partners supporting us in the process. Right now, we have 20 plus modules for all the indicators which have been provided there. We are not taking the waste management indicators, the 6 in number, which is being done by Swatch. And there are 1 or 2 indicators where you don't need training, you need action, like total energy consumption in the city. Nobody needs to train a city to understand that. It is more of a reporting indicator. But we have currently the capacity building activities are ongoing, and we are doing it in a much more interesting manner, you know, where each city can understand what that indicators mean, how it will be helpful for them and to other cities, and also where to get the data from, which department to coordinate, who are the stakeholders going to be, and how they can implement it. So these are interesting to our virtual training modules, and therefore we can reach out to a larger number of people. And it has a dedicated 90-minute virtual interactive exercise and a gaming platform and people interacting. So what we deliver as a lecture is only for 30 minutes, but what cities interact and learn using tools, games, and others are for 90 minutes. This has proved to be very effective because there is an active engagement and participation, and also it means that they take home something at the end of the day, apart from the knowledge they gain from the key speakers. We have an active knowledge repository online right now. This is getting populated, and pretty much all the cities and partners are getting onboarded. And we also have a data wall. So if some of you want to look at the indicators, the scores, how do you want to compare the cities, please check out the city data climate data observatory. You can look at information city-wise, you can look at information state-wise, you can compare between cities, you can compare across indicators, and basically it's a very interactive platform. Do use it. Let us know what you think about it. If you want more data, more information added to it, we'll be happy to do that. And of course, communication is important, and we have a regular newsletter. So many of you might have been registered, and many of you are also part of our some of the agencies where we have already associated with. We are currently working closely with BE. We are also working closely with UNEP, and we are also working with MOEFCC, and also with institutions like Rocky Mountain Institute, which is looking in terms of the district cooling and also energy efficiency. So if some of you would be interested in our network, please join our network. We have a program called Climate Mitra, where climate practitioners can be part of the network, and we help them connect to cities and cities to them. So many of the cities, especially in the smaller towns, do come out and ask us, provide us with a technical expert. And we sitting in Delhi, it becomes very difficult for us to cater to all these cities. And that's why we reach out to partners who are registered within the network. We link them up to somebody who is within their city or in the close proximity, so that they can take forward the discussion. So with that, I'll stop, and probably will be happy to take a few questions. And thank you very much once again for listening, and hope to partner or to have you all part of the climate network at CQ. Thank you. Anwar, do you want to
Yes,
go after the questions?
yes, thank you so much for the presentation. It was a very insightful presentation. We could understand that climate regarding this climate action, cities are taking interest and are developing committees to start planning climate action projects. And also we observed that there are many different cities who have been leading in many different parameters. That is also a very good thing for a progress towards climate actions, which were led in the assessment. Now it's time to take the questions from the audience. Please drop in your questions in the question box. So we'll just give 2 minutes for them to drop in the questions. I think we can start taking the questions. So the first question is, how are the cities measuring their greenhouse gas emissions?
So right now, they are being done with the support of uh, INGOs and multilateral agencies. So how they are measuring it, there is an inventory process. So it is the inventory of all the emissions which are coming from the city, and then they break it down into different sources, and then they basically report on it at an annual basis. So that's what is happening. It's not something which has been mandated by the national government, because according to MOEFCC, all GHG emission should be measured only at a state level and not at a city level. So that is the mandate. Every state has to measure the emissions and report on it, because of course there is a lot of issue in terms of pollutants moving uh, coming to the city beyond its boundary and then moving outside the city beyond uh, their control, and so on and so forth. So therefore, right now it is a process of inventorization. So they do create an inventory and then they source segment it. And so there is a standard process, uh, and there are multiple approaches to do that particular initiative. And probably we can share some documents regarding the same.
Okay. The next question is, are there any plans on implementing circular economy procedure in the climate change and sustainable development space?
Definitely, we have been having that discussion quite a bit, and Australia, which is one of the key leaders in terms of circular economy, is willing to help the cities in India if any wants to take it up. And we have been talking to a few of the cities also to incorporate it. Similar to district cooling, I think circular economy is needs to be looked in terms of the space and infrastructure. So many times it's much more easier to do that in a what you call as greenfield development, that is new area which are coming up within the city or within the boundary, or this can be much more useful for smaller towns. But one of the biggest thing is it is for that to happen, we need some try and tested model which has worked in India, and therefore we are exploring both the cities which are interested and partners which are interested in implementing it to come together to make that happen.
Okay. The next question is there any framework that is being followed to gather the data from the cities?
Um, so the climate smart city assessment framework, which I talked about, is the framework. The technical documents for the same is already available online, and you can go to niua.org/cq, and you'll be able to see the framework, the specification, the documentation, the agencies from where cities are collecting the data, the kind of indicators, the different stages within each indicators. All that information is available online.
What can smaller cities and towns along the coast can do regarding the assessment?
They undertake the assessment. It is as simple as that. The assessment is not geolocation specific, or it is not only designed for bigger cities, smaller cities, it is designed for cities in general. So it is an integrated assessment, and any city which is willing to be part of the assessment, please reach out to us. We'll be happy to include you in the next round of assessment. Otherwise, we are also going to, last time, because of COVID, we did not push that much, but we are soon going to have the meeting with all the chief secretaries and UDD secretaries for all the states, pan India. And you can also indicate to your UDD, Urban Development Department, and we'll be glad to follow up on that.
From where can we get more data regarding the smart cities mission and the developments associated with it?
So SmartNet is one of the portal, and urbandata.gov.in is also another one, where both data with respect to smart cities and also SmartNet is where smart city initiatives, information regarding it, both are present. Right now, the government is also in the process of thinking about coming up with a integrated platform where all data collected as a part of any government mission will be made available to the people. It's just a process. There are certain formalities and there are complications into it. Both technical and also city data actually belongs to the state. But a part of the city data can also be made available to the public, and that's what we are trying to do. But whatever data, whatever information we have collected as part of the assessment, at least in terms of the scores and everything, is available in our data vault. You can't download it as such, but for any particular city you want to see it individually, indicator wise, you'll be able to see it. And of course, within the urban data .gov.in, I think you will be able to get some of the cities are, self-declared few of their data sources, which are accessible and open to public.
At what interval are the outcomes of this assessment captured? Whether are they annually or regularly?
Annually. The reporting happens annually. Of course, the time period for each of the indicators is, say, for example, if somebody is reporting on energy consumption, we ask for the monthly energy consumption for the last financial year or something like that. So, but pretty much it's on an annual basis.
Okay. Can developers of the cities become the part of this network?
We want developers of the cities to be part of this network, and they are very, very key to both, creating the pull and the push mechanism. So we know that developers are very important for the growth of the city and also for the sustainability of the city. And so we want them to be part of the network. You can either directly join us as a part of the practitioners network, or you can also reach out to us, where we can connect you with your city administration. One of the key way for local developer to engage is to be part of the city committees. We are currently promoting city to institute a couple of committees, and one of those things, couple of things which may be of interest to the developers is One is the Climate Change and Disaster Management Committee, or the CEL. I think that is very key to the buildings, to understanding what kind of risks are available so that they can build, in a conscious manner. And of course, they can incorporate aspects of sustainability and energy efficiency as a part of the climate change plan. Two, we are also cities are mandated to institute biodiversity management committee and CEL. I think once again, builders need to be part of it, because cities like Chennai have lost more than 30 or 40% of their wetlands to new development. So it's important the builders are conscious of it. And what we have realized is, the more information we provide to builders, they they are well informed and take necessary action to safeguard their environment, because ultimately their buildings need to be uh, also catering to quality of life of people. And quality of life is not only whether somebody is staying in a 2 bedroom or a 3 bedroom apartment, but it's also in terms of whether they have a good environment around. When they open the door or the window, they can breathe better air, and also they get water 24 by 7, and they are able to have a better healthy living in their environment. So that is another committee where builders can be part of. And the fourth is the cell which we are trying to push, the green building cell. Uh, More from a state level, there are also a few other cities, at least the bigger cities, need them, and that's where builders and both promoters can be part of it. So we encourage, if anybody would want to connect to their city representatives or the city municipal corporation, do reach out to us, or you can come and register within our portal as professionals. And if any city is reaching out for help, we will connect you to them. So we can do both.
Are the objectives of the development of smart cities in India in line with the international goals and standards set by UN?
I don't know whether the smart city goals are completely in alignment with the SDG goals. I think what they are talking about is, so one of the goals which have been set by UN is the SDG, but UN doesn't set any smart city goals. But that said, see, smart city, you should look at smart city as an lab, where a lot of experimentation has taken place. Cities have implemented technology, cities have implemented green spaces, cities have done walkways, cycle tracks, cities have improved their waste management. So smart city is a lab. If you look at the total investment of the smart city, 80% of the investment has gone towards area-based development, less than 500 acres. So hectares. So much of the smart city, what you're talking about as smart city, is not a smart city per se, it's a smart area. So why smart area? Because that area is a lab. There, some are greenfield development, some are brownfield development. That is, some are new developments, and some are old city areas and old developments which exist, where they have incorporated, smart. Uh, I wouldn't say smart, but uh, they have implemented interventions to increase the economic activity, increase the livelihood, decrease the traffic, reduce the air quality, help in monitoring the air quality, monitoring the services. So I would suggest that out of 100 interventions, if you say, there are more than 3,000 projects which are happening within smart cities. Many of them are as simple as, I'm creating a park. Uh, to some of them are more complicated, like I'm putting in a SCADA system. The technology component is also 50%. When people think about smart city, it's not completely technology based. Some of the smart city initiatives are people led, like setting up a separate pathway for bicycles, which are non motorized. So there, of course, you can use an app to find your, the bicycle, or you can use any bicycle along the track using an app, and so on and so forth. So those kinds of facilities do exist, but ultimately it is that infrastructure, having a separate dedicated lane so that people don't face trouble while they are riding the bicycle, the accidents are minimized, and so on and so forth. So the UN talks about 17 sustainable goals, which are quite different. Uh, but whatever smart city initiatives are there, we are now trying to understand what are the climate impacts, and we are also selecting a few projects which are creating climate benefits. And we are documenting those things. And please go to our website, you will know city interventions and some of the cases. Some of the cities which I showcased over there, they're all being projects coming out of the smart cities. So the energy intervention, the biomethanization plant, installation of solar power plants, implementation of walkways, all are coming out of the smart city initiatives. So yes, it caters to the sustainable development goals, but SDGs are measured at a state level and not at a city level.
What are the ways in which the level of sustainability of a city can be measured and compared in India?
So I think sustainability includes quite a lot of things, you know, and so we are looking at climate, but the ministry also has a lot of other things. They have an integrated data framework. They also have a ease of living in assessment, which is being done across the city. It is also how happy the citizens are in living in a particular city, how good the economic activities are, how well the institutions functions, how well people take care of simple things, or how how much amount of social cohesion does exist, how much amount of people are respecting the nature or preserving the nature, conserving the nature, or working towards the environment in terms of reducing emissions, so on and so forth. So it's a combination of activities which lead up to sustainability. And sustainability is like a marathon. It's not something which you do one day, and it's like if you want to have if you want to run a marathon, you need to practice day in, day out. You need to run long hours, and you need to keep running at a constant speed throughout, or at certain most majority of the segment. It's not like a 100-meter sprint where you run fast for some time and you stop. That's what is happening with cities. With certain projects, they take it up, they implement one good project, and then uh, the interest fizzles off. So that's why we are creating platforms, we are creating networks, we are creating systems where these institutions and these cells, these organizations, these strategies, these plans can help the city grow, and the memory of uh, sustainability is reiterated time and again.
Is the cultural aspect also being looked in the smart city assessment?
Culture is looked in within as a part of social cohesion, and it is also looked within the ease of living. Yes, it's being measured by the smart city initiative.
Which of the thematic areas is the most challenging according to you?
It varies drastically from city to city. I think in smaller cities, the issue of water and waste is one of the critical aspect, and also for the hilly cities, it is the mobility, and for bigger cities, it is air quality and biodiversity. Uh, and once again, if you go to ULBs, most of the ULBs don't have urban planning department, so planning is a bigger issue. They don't get sufficient technical experts to come and engage with them. Even within smart cities, what we have seen is, really good professionals, or I would say all the top five consultancies or six consultancies in India, you will see them in all the bigger cities. And usually the smaller ULBs don't have access to them, or can't pay their rates, or can't engage with them, negotiate with them, so on and so forth. So there is a lack uh, but smaller cities are more environmentally conscious. They are where green areas are better preserved, water bodies, they are conscious of the water bodies. Of course, um, there are some good things and bad things. The most difficult thing is, uh, I would say, uh, is providing an enabling structure and convincing them that it is not one intervention. It is these kinds of foundational elements of a strategy, of a plan, of data collection, of formation of a committee, having some discussions around it, and creating a set of projects. Even you don't get funded for all the 20, 30 projects, it's creating an integrated list of projects is support. So changing that mindset, like I said, moving people from ice caps, polar bears, glaciers to what is happening in your city. That mindset change is the first step, and that's what we are finding. We wouldn't call it challenging. We are finding it interesting. We are learning from the process. We are evolving to cater to the needs, and we are also right now trying to talk their language, what they do on a day-to-day basis. So we want to bring that to light. Climate change or climate actions can be brought about in not something you do new, but in what you do it better, efficiently, effectively, and consciously, taking into consideration the climate lens.
There's a lot of requests to display the last slide of your presentation showing the links. So if you could, sir, please.
Sure, I can do
The
that.
last slide of your presentation. There are a lot of questions. We'll take 2-3 more. What are the elements that could be included while designing high-rise buildings, which can contribute a lot in creating smart cities?
I think one need not worry about smart city while creating a building. Just create a smart, efficient building. That should suffice. One of the key aspects one needs to consider is about the risk. Do take into consideration the zonation, risk zonation, the flood properties, and also use of energy efficient fixtures. There is ECBC codes which are available, but there is also ENS, Econima Samhita, which is also there. Try to avoid using too much of paved surfaces. I think within the building premise as much as possible. Provide area for recharge and also rainwater harvesting is something critical. Usually the builders build it and they go away. I think this is something which one needs to think in terms of long term. Probably the builders lobby can get together and form some kind of a committee to evaluate, monitor, retrofit all the rainwater harvesting structures which are getting installed in the buildings. Because as soon as the builder hands it over after 2 or 3 years, the Ravas usually do not have experience or expertise in maintaining these structures. And also try to, when you're building something, try to do as much of wastewater recycling and reuse as possible. You don't need to use uh, highly treated chlorinated water for your toilets. That is not necessary. So take into consideration that dual piping system is possible. If possible, you should implement it. And also, of course, finally, the cool roofing ventilation is very key. Take into consideration the ventilation so that your occupants use less energy or less air conditioner, therefore the less energy.
Based on the outcomes of the assessment, is there a benchmark to access where we stand today and how much we need to work more to reach the target which are set?
This is for one city or for all the cities? We have started our marathon. Like I said, there are 4,000 urban local bodies in India. We have started our assessment initially with 96 cities. Now we have reached the second round is 126. So slowly we will keep increasing and bringing all the cities on board. Like you have seen from the first assessment to the second assessment, it is a mind shift change. Once the mind shift change happens, then I'm sure the cities and the city administration and the citizens and different stakeholders who are living in the city, they are smart enough to take appropriate action. So we have no doubt about it. It is only creating the momentum, and that's what our goal is, and monitoring how they are performing and giving them strategic direction, and also helping them with tools. Not only tools, we also provide sample DPRs, TORs if somebody wants to implement certain things.
So we'll take up the last question now. So is data collection process challenging, and how the correctness of the data is ensured?
Right. So the data collection process is challenging. We do have a lot of training capacity building session. We have mentoring sessions for that. We also provide, at least for the 100 smart cities, there are chief data officers who have been instituted by the smart city mission to take care of it. In addition to it, last year when we did the assessment while the COVID was going on, we had several partner agencies coming and providing on-ground staff support. So out of 126 cities, 120 cities were provided on-ground staff support. And these staff are nothing but, go to a particular department and get that data. So this additional staff basically helps them in securing data from multiple places, because all data doesn't reside in one place, and municipal departments are a little bit complicated. Um, it's not that they handle all the services, all the indicators. They handle some of them. Some of them are handled by state agencies. Some are handled by regional agencies. So that way it is very difficult. But we have a very amazing template, evidence-based mechanism which has been instituted. And like I said, we have 60 plus experts providing inputs to it. They also evaluate the data which comes into play. So we are confident about data certainty and accuracy. But all said and done, there will be plus or minus certain things. If the city says that we have 12% green cover and actually it is 11%, we may not be able to check. So next year onwards, we are also starting to introduce geospatial data so that we can do the analysis at our end. We are also providing tools which can record the mechanism. City can lie or report false data for 1 year or for a few months. When such kind of assessment happens over 5 or 6 years, it will be very difficult for a city to report on any false data. And the errors also gets corrected over time, because we also have certain partners working within the city who are helping the city to evaluate the data, correct the data, improve the data. So that's where we currently 70 cities have our alliance partners supporting them in some way or the other. So we are also confident that these multi-level check, multi-level partnership, and also improved framework assessment, and the portal has all the data, so anybody can go and look at it anytime. So these measures will help in reducing the error.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Mahesh, for answering those questions and for the wonderful presentation. It was a pleasure to have you with us. Before we end the webinar, sure, sir. Before we end the webinar, would like to share a few things with you. We have many new case studies from India and Southeast Asia on our NZ platform. You can explore them at nzeb.in. And also, if you are interested in showcasing a high performance or a net zero energy project on the platform, please write to us at nzeb@edsglobal.com. You can also read our monthly newsletter, which is the NZEB Times, which is also available on our website, and which includes updates on our initiatives, global highlights, and everything about NZEB. The NZEB Alliance is open to anyone interested in advancing the NZEB initiatives, energy efficient technologies, best practices, policies, and programs. You can sign up on our website to join the Alliance. We have hosted 45 webinars under the NZEB Knowledge Series. If you have missed our previous webinar, you can read a summary on our website or also view them on our YouTube channel. With that, we have come to the end of the webinar today. I hope you enjoyed today's session. We appreciate you being here. I will see you in the next one. Until then, stay safe, stay indoors. Thank you.